Welcome to Libraryish, the podcast where we talk about libraries and librarianship within the context of culture and community. Spring break is right around the corner, and whether you're planning to jet off somewhere exciting or just kick back and relax at home, we've got the perfect reading recommendations to take you on a journey. No passport required.
That's right. Today we're talking about books that transport you to incredible destinations, from fantastical realms to reimagined versions of places you might already know and love. So, if you're in the mood for an armchair adventure, we've got you covered.
Get ready to explore, imagine, and escape. Because today we're talking about books that will take you somewhere unforgettable. Let's go.
Yay!
All right.
So, spring break options. Spring break is coming up. It's springtime. Colleges are getting spring break. Elementary schools getting spring break. It's spring break fever.
It sure is,
Mhm.
man. I'm trying to remember. Spring break wasn't that big a thing when I should clarify. When I was quite young, it was not that big a thing. By the time I hit college age, that was the beginning of like the party school,
Mhm.
which used to be Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz. But that used to be the nation's
Right.
number one party school. And then
That's so funny.
and then other schools have taken over. But before that,
Uh-huh.
it was just like, oh, you went home. It was no different than Christmas break. But boy, has it become
You
its
know,
own little thing. And I think it's great. It's a good time.
yeah, and you've got a point. Yeah, I agree. When I got to make my own plans, that's when spring break became fun. Because when you're a
Yeah.
little kid, you're kind of, at the mercy of your parents.
Yeah.
And if your parents are going to do something, then that's nice or whatever. But you're kind of just like, okay, what do we do now? What do we go today? I'm just kind of being tagged along here.
Yep.
But when you're an adult, you can be like, I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cancun, here I come.
right? So I mean, if you got the money,
Yeah.
because but you know what you got. If you don't have the money to travel, you know what the best poor man's vacation is?
Books. Yeah.
And we've got some great books here that have some really good spring break, either a spring break vibe or like, if I could spring break,
Mhm.
I would spring break here.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it's not necessarily like, oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, if you
No.
watch any episodes of this podcast, you know that we don't necessarily go for what's like typically aesthetic or whatever. So these
No.
are really just like books that speak spring break to us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you know what they say about opinions, right?
Mm,
Everyone,
so many things.
Oh
about
yeah,
opinion.
the one I use with my daughter, so this is G-rated. Opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got at least two, and they always stink. So, these are our opinions. If you don't agree, then that's cool
Yeah.
too.
And it's kind
us
of different
know.
perspective. Yes, and absolutely. You don't like to put it in the comments. Send us
Yes.
an email, which
I
is
wanna
in
know.
our intro, and let us know what you think, because we're open to hearing what all kinds of people
Very
think.
much so.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
But this is, I know for you, you've got a couple of tried and true favorites that you're going to be talking about. We're going to
Yep.
do like a couple of locations apiece.
Yeah, do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead and start.
So
We'll do the alternating thing we usually do. It's a good time.
I did the ones that from the books that pulled me in so very
Mhm.
much. These aren't exactly books that take place on a beach, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of books that are like that. Like The Paradise Problem is a really fun romantic comedy that's a lot like Pretty Woman.
Mhm.
Written by, oh gosh, I want to say it's Christina Lauren. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Don't quote me.
And isn't it Susan Mallory that writes a lot of sort of
She
lighthearted,
does. She does. She did the Summer Book
chicklit?
Club.
Often some chicklit books are often considered sort of a summer reads, spring break reads,
Right.
something really quick and fast to get
And
through.
a lot of these kind of books take place during summertime.
Yeah.
A lot of these books take place at a beach. Like a lot of Susan Mallory's, which I also read her. She's delightful, especially if you're looking for a nice, clean romance. A romance that's very fade to black, a romance that it still gives you kind of like the lovey-doveys without the smutties.
Yeah, kind of the Hallmark.
Yeah,
movie
she's
romance
delightful in that
vibe.
manner. We have a lot of her books, and the first one I really enjoyed was the Summer Book Club, and it's about, you know, three women and going through various you know, challenges within their lives, and they all come together for this book club just during the summertime, and, you know, to read these books and to connect and to talk to each other, and
Yeah.
they form really strong, really beautiful friendships among each other, you know, and it's more about their relationships with each other and that
Mhm.
friendship that they form than their romantic side, you know, quests,
Right.
for lack of a better term. You
I love
know,
it. You have a side quest.
you have a side quest.
His name is Bob.
Can't I just stay home and read instead? You mean socialize with other people? I'm sorry.
He's an insurance broker and drives a Toyota Camry.
But see, the majority of my books are not those books. And this book I chose because I'm an addict. And and it's
Hi, January.
my name is January, and I'm addicted to romantasy with dragons.
Hi, January.
This is Fourth Wing by Rebecca
Mhm.
Yarros. So, if you're not a big fan of this series and you're not like waiting at Rebecca Yarros's window going more, then you might not understand this, because this takes place at a war college. And in this war college, because this country, this place is at war with all these other people, and they've been at war for a long time. And so you kind of have to join some faction of the war, you know, brigades. There's the infantry, there's the scribes, which are like librarians. That's us.
Mhm. Oh, hey, there you go.
And then there's
my people.
right. And then, you know, the whole time I'm reading about the scribes, I'm like, oh, I feel you. I'm there with you. And I'm like, just put me in that huge library and I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but they've got a writers quadrant, which are dragon riders. And I'm like, any world that gets me to ride a dragon, I am there. It's like, well, the mortality rate is so very high. I don't care. There's dragons.
Worth it.
Right? And every time in this world you bond with a dragon, you become a dragon rider, you also develop your own like magical ability, like
Oh.
X-Men-ish kind of. Everybody has
Right.
something different
Oh, cool.
in that manner. And it's so much fun. And yes, it's not a very safe world. And yes, a lot of people die. And it's either the war killing you, or it's the school itself killing you, or it's your classmates killing you, or it's the dragons killing you. But I mean, if you manage to survive all that, you get to ride a dragon, and it is so cool. And you know, you little magic on the side, you know, which is great. So that's why this was my first pick. And it is not a cozy. It's not a cozy. Like I said, people are dying. There's smutty smut in it. I mean, and it's a lot of fun, and it's fast. It's a thick book. The first one's relatively thick, but it's a fast read, and you are
That's
like
nice.
staying up late because you have to. I don't need sleep. I need answers. That's where you are throughout this whole thing. And it is just, it's a delightful, and the author is really good at describing the scenes, describing the
Mhm.
scenery, describing the situations, and she just connects you to these characters. And what I really loved about this, one of the many things I really loved about this, is her main character is a girl named Violet, and Violet has this chronic illness where her joints are weak, her bones break easily, and she's in constant pain. And it's interesting to have the main character have this kind of vulnerability, because she has to kind of make up for this in other areas, which she does. And I don't want to spoil it for you, because the main character is very clever, and she finds other ways to succeed in these things that people who are born without this chronic illness tend to just succeed at naturally. She has to look at it a different way. Rebecca Yarros actually suffers from a chronic illness herself, known as, I'm going to mispronounce this, Ehlers-Danlos.
Mhm.
And she's in constant pain, and she has the weak joints and all that stuff. She put that into her character. And I love that, because it kind of shows like, you don't have to be perfect. You know, you don't have to be completely, what is the standard of physically fit. You can have, you know, parts of your life that just don't quite align like the others do, and you can still succeed.
Well, I love that, having a protagonist that has a
Right?
chronic illness or is somehow vulnerable in that way, physically
Mhm.
vulnerable. It's something we don't see very often. I think
Very
that's something a
much.
lot of people can relate to.
Well, and what I loved about it is that not only can they relate to it, they can see that no, she can't do things exactly like other people can.
Mhm.
You know, it came to a part where she had to scale this huge wall, but because she's so short, and because her joints are so weak, and because her bones, you know, and all this stuff, she couldn't do it like everybody else. And it gets back to, there's an old this old picture where it has a teacher standing in front of all these animals. There's a monkey, there's a giraffe, there's a goldfish in the bowl, there's, all these different kinds of animals. And he said, here's the test. You have to climb this tree. And if you can climb this tree, then you pass the test. Everybody gets the same test, no exceptions. Go. Well, that poor little fish is going to think it's incredibly stupid and unable to do this because it's different.
Yeah.
Violet, this character, had to look at things in a different way, had to be like, okay, that's how they do it. I'm not going to do that. How can I succeed at this?
Right.
And it was really lovely. And I would love to go there for the dragons. Because come on. Also, we do have this book, and if you go onto Libby, you'll find a graphic audio of this book. Graphic audio is delightful because it's an audiobook, but it's got a full cast. It's got sound effects. It's like an old-fashioned radio show.
Oh, wow.
And
that's so cool.
It's delightful. And we have this on Libby, because they charge, like you have to pay, I think it's like, because they separate books into 2 or 3 pieces, and it's a little over $20 for each piece, just like, a regular book would be, I guess, if you split it. But we have these on Libby for free. You would just check it out for, 3 weeks, and then you would get this.
Why you need a library
right?
card?
And it's just
this kind of entertainment for nothing.
Delightful. Yeah. It's this little, like, I can put my headphones on and I can close my eyes and I can just see it. They have the sound effects, the people, the everything. It just takes you there and is so much fun. And I would recommend, if you don't get a chance to read it, check it out on Libby, graphic audio version, and give it a listen. It's just so much fun. But I truly loved it. I thought it was amazing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. I love that. Great sales job.
Oh, thank you. You're like, a couple of plugs in there.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Okay, so my recommendation is a very extensive series written by an author named Terry Pratchett. And Terry Pratchett, amazing author, and it's the Discworld series. The main city that everything takes place in is a town called Ankh-Morpork. And
that's such a fun name.
I know, isn't it? And it is several different stories. When Terry Pratchett was writing these, he would sometimes have as many as 6 monitors in front of him with all the different storylines.
Oh my goodness.
On them, so that he could keep track of what was going on with each character or with each storyline, so they dovetailed together. But the series is not meant to be read chronologically. You can go ahead and pick up whichever book out of the 41 books and start and go. My 2 favorites are the first one I ever read, which is Guards, which is about sort of a city cop on the beat and sort of how he has to navigate the streets and what it's like to be in his job and how it's really sometimes very mundane. And it's a fantasy. So the thieves, there are thieves in town, but there is a guild. And so they have rules and meetings, and you get to see a little bit about that. And there's also a wizard college because, absolutely. I mean, this author was a big inspiration for other authors like Neil Gaiman, who was the co-author on the final book that was in the series. He wrote Good Omens with Neil Gaiman.
That's the one I was just going to mention. Good Omens just skyrocketed.
I can't remember the name of the final book in the series, but Neil Gaiman, it filled in the blanks out of Terry Pratchett's notes, because eventually Terry Pratchett was there's actually a documentary on Netflix about it. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so there was a documentary that kind of took him, followed him through that journey. So the series is hysterical. All that talk about, the heaviness of everything. It's a hysterical series. Guards, like I say, is great. Another one is Mort, which essentially follows death around.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you're just normal day in the life of death.
That actually sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's a job. And of course, my favorite character is the librarian.
Of course it is.
Of course it is, because the librarian is an orangutan. Because books have powers, and you can't really, you got to be careful when you're in the stacks and when you're doing stuff. You got to be careful. So the library essentially turned, it's the library at the Wizard College, and it essentially turned the librarian into an orangutan. But the orangutan is great, is fine with that. Librarian's fine with that. You know, you ask the librarian to find a book, you give the librarian a banana, everybody is happy.
I like how you just went off with that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the unseen university library is what it's called. He communicates mostly by saying ook and eek.
Ook and eek.
But is fiercely protective of the library and will not tolerate anyone mishandling books, which, I mean, same.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
Same. Absolutely the same. It's not a pretty place. It's not a picturesque or scenic place. The actual planet itself, Discworld, is called that because it's based on sort of the tantric models of the planet, where you have an elephant on the back of 4 turtles and the planet is flat in a disc. So that's what, or it's a turtle with 4 elephants in a disc. It's one or the other. But it comes up in the stories very often. And it's just a great read. And as I said, he inspired Neil Gaiman. He inspired Douglas Adams, who's more the science-y area, but so he's very sarcastic. It's political, social commentary, it's satire, but it is so wonderful and so engaging, but also a lot of pathos. You know, it's about 90% hilarity and stupid and about 10% like really heartfelt stories and an examination of the human condition. So if you're into that, I highly recommend it. The first book, if you're looking to start from there, is called The Color of Magic.
But you said you don't have to read it in order.
No,
you can
you
jump
don't.
through it. Yeah,
You don't.
Sounds amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes,
Oh,
but
I especially loved the go ahead, just give the orangutan a banana.
yeah, exactly, and you're good. The other piece that Terry Pratchett is really famous for is the one off Good Omens, which has been turned into an extremely successful television series. So Good Omens is really great. If you're interested in Good Omens and that's something that you find funny, you might want to give the Discworld books a try. They're a good time.
I remember after they released Chris Prime did a TV series on Good Omens forever ago. And when it first released, Neil Gaiman was getting all these Twitters and texts and all this stuff saying, when are you going to write number 2? And he's like, ... I can't, because Terry Pratchett was such a big piece of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't. I mean, I know they did season 2, but they did that.
Well, you know, the TV adaptations are always different. That's a whole other vibe. And I think the relationship between the 2 characters, you know, while it is the same, it has a life of its own in the television production, you know,
it does.
That is extant in the book, but is not as highly featured as it is. It's like a different thing now. It's its own thing, the TV show.
It is very much so. But yeah, he was like, I can't write another one because Terry Pratchett's not around anymore, and that was sad.
No. Yeah, but check it out. It's a good time, and it will make you laugh out loud.
And I've seen this floating around. I've seen it a few times throughout the checkout. I know it's in Chico, and a lot of people have checked it out. And we've got a lot of people that every time guards come in, they're like, "Oh, Terry Pratchett!"
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's just fun following this cop around, and just like he's just doing his stuff, walking down the streets. What time is it? Oh, the guy's stealing. I can't do anything. It's so funny. It's just so funny.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It's a good time.
So my second book that I picked, because you were talking about the Wizards College.
Yeah.
So, or the Wizards Guild. What did you call it?
Well, it's Unseen University. So it's a Wizards College.
Okay. And I heard that and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to bring up, because I did 3, because I didn't know how many you would need for.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So just in case, in this way, you know, if I cut that one out, I'm like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, you're whatever. Like, hey.
Yeah, whatever. I did Stormfront, which is book 1 in the Dresden Files. The Dresden Files is a series of books. There's quite a few of them written by Jim Butcher, who writes a lot of sci-fi.
Yeah.
He's a great writer, and he's so super funny. And the Dresden Files takes place in an alternate universe because it's urban fiction, where wizards exist and magic exists and fae exists and all the things that you would assume, go into a fantasy world exist. And Harry is basically like a private investigator for the most part, but he calls himself a wizard for hire. And think of Harry Potter, except grown up and hilarious. He is curmudgeon and he is sarcastic and he is just delightful. And I love this whole world that he's in. And it's the best part, I think. This is such a teeny detail, and it's not a spoiler. You'll get this in the first part of the book. Because he's a wizard and because magic and technology just can't, work together, anytime he's in a room with a computer or anything that's technological, it explodes on its own accord. It's just like a wizard, and it just explodes. And so he has problems.
It's all that pent up energy.
Right? He has problems using telephones. He has problems using computers. He has problems driving his gosh darn car, because the moment he gets in, the technology senses the magic. It's like, and so the poor guy has to, go around this. But he is also a consultant for the Chicago PD, because this does take place in Chicago. And the Chicago PD is calling him on these, magical, mystical murders that they're like, I don't know what to do with this. And he gets called in one of those. And so you get to solve this murder with him while going through this world where he's a wizard and there's magic and he's fun and funny. And it's a very dark read, just because, like I said, it's an urban fantasy, but it's so much fun. And because you did send me that paper, and because Tracy will do this when we do a podcast. She likes to organize this.
I try to.
And that way it's easier for me to put my stuff in there, because, And one of the questions she put in here is fun facts, real lives about landmarks, history, and cultural details featured in the book. None.
Zero.
Absolutely
nada.
Zero.
Ixnay.
The only factual thing is that this place takes place in Chicago, which is a real place, from what I hear.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been there.
It is occasionally. Yes, yeah. I lived there for several years of my life. Yes.
So that's the only thing. Everything else is pure fiction, pure fun.
Love that.
And, for those of us that are trying to escape adulthood and reality by jumping into a book, this is perfect. Jim Butcher does such a great job creating this world where it's basically our world, just with magic, just infused in the seams. And his description is beautiful. It is just a fun time. And there's, like I said, there's a ton of books in this series. By the fourth one, you will absolutely be addicted. 100%. He is just so good at that. And you will love Harry. You will be like, I want Harry to be my friend. I want Harry Dresden to be my friend.
I want to know this guy.
I want to know him so bad. But it was fun. And I would love to go there. Although, yes, murder, darkness, like my last one, where I'll probably die. But I would love to go there for my spring break, just to be a wizard for a little while, It would be amazing. I would love it. And we have this book here. We've got the paperback versions over, and we have select hardback in all the branches. We've got it on
He's
Libby.
Very popular, and we have a lot.
We do
of
very
his
much.
work.
And he's a lot of fun. So I did him and the audiobook. If you get the audiobook for this series off of Libby and listen to it. So there's an old TV show, us 90s kids understand, called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
The gentleman who plays Spike, the British, with the bleach blonde hair, he narrates the audiobooks, except it's not his British accent. It's his American accent. And so you're like, I kind of hear Spike. It's kind of who I'm used to, but he does a great job too, because a lot of times with the audiobooks, the way the narrator sounds will either, will make it really good.
Break
it will.
Book,
oh
an
gosh,
audiobook,
yes.
100%.
And he does really good with it. So if you're looking for an audiobook, he's a lot of fun. Okay. Who did you do next?
Okay. The next one that I did. Are you a fan of X-Men? Are you a fan of that guy? Well, I have a book series for you. It's called Wild Cards, and it's edited by George R.R. Martin. And these are, you can pick up any one of these. They are to be read kind of in chronological order, but honestly, you can read any of them. Wild Cards 1, intuitively, is the first Wild Cards book. But
That
you
makes
can
sense.
you can pick them up. I think the first one I ever picked up was like the fifth or sixth one.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, what it is, George R. Martin is famous for creating this sort of style of fantasy that you do see
Mm-hmm.
in the Jim Butcher books. It's called grimdark, which is gritty, realistic fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah, and George R. Martin basically popularized, is considered to be responsible for popularizing that sort of fantasy fiction. And that's what these books are. They take place in New York City, but also globally. There are books in Britain, set in Britain. There's a series and so forth. Like, they've sort of taken the books and broken them down into 3 book sort of triads. Basically, there was a virus, and people that got infected, there were 3 different results. 90% of the population died from whatever mutations the virus gave them. Then I think it was 9% became grotesquely mutated.
Oh.
And they are what's called jokers. The people that died, it's called drawing the Black Queen, because all the euphemisms are playing card euphemisms. And then there's 1% of people that developed superpowers from contracting the virus, and those people are called aces.
Ooh.
And sometimes they have very minor powers, sometimes they have very extreme powers. And even the people that become grotesque or unusual, one particular character, her skin became completely transparent. So you can see everything that's going on inside her body. But she became a very successful entrepreneur and happens to run an escort service. But these are very gritty books. These are very gritty books. But she's a wheeler and a dealer and a genius and a player in this integrated sort of storyline with several authors, many of whom are very famous fantasy or sci-fi authors that have contributed to this. These are anthology books that are put together by George R. Martin. He has also written chapters and written standalone books on certain characters, but most of it is just anthology contributed by different authors. The storylines dovetail together, and it is so exciting and so gritty, and the stories are so compelling. And essentially, you have these characters after this virus, which hits at around 1946. So it's sort of an alternative universe, an alternative history story. You get to walk with them through history, this parallel history of what's going on, but through the lens of what it would be like if people had been infected by this virus, including historical figures like FDR or Winston Churchill. Yeah.
Fun.
I'm not typically one for historical fiction, but alternate histories,
Right?
I'm a little bit more amenable to if they're this good. It's just such a great read, again, about human nature. These books are very exciting and have a lot of intrigue. So if you're into adventure, it's a really, really good series to check out. Martin was also a Hollywood screenwriter before the whole Game of Thrones thing. So he definitely has a way of painting pictures with his words. And the authors that he had tapped to create these series, create these little novellas within these books. It's fantastic. So
that's amazing. That's but my problem when I hear George R. Martin, my brain's like, dragons.
I know. I know. And I don't believe there are any dragons in this particular one, unless someone had been turned into a dragon.
Yes, there's that.
Yes.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I'll go for that one. I would volunteer as tribute.
There you go.
100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As long as you could be a book dragon.
Yeah.
You'd be down.
Yeah. You got to figure we're already kind of book dragons.
Yeah. I mean, true.
Wherever you find yourself this spring break, we hope you find the books to give you the perfect getaway, whether it's a trip across the world, across time, or to a place that only exists in the imagination.
And don't forget, your local library is the best travel agency when it comes to finding your next great read. Stop by, check out a book, and let the adventure begin.
Thanks for joining us. And as always, happy reading.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.